Welcome to the Manager Lab, where we delve into the increasingly dynamic world of talent management. In each episode, we will unravel key insights, break down the most relevant books and articles, and provide actionable tips to optimize your approach in developing and retaining top talent. Stay tuned for a deep dive into the art, science, and strategy of unlocking your team's full potential. Let's enter the Manager Lab. Today, we're diving into one of the most powerful chapters in the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, the law of buy-in. And here's the core idea. People don't first buy into the vision, they buy into the leader. That sounds simple, but it changes everything about how leadership actually works. As managers, we often think, if I can just explain the strategy clearly enough, people will get on board. But Maxwell, John C. Maxwell, the author, makes the point that logic alone rarely creates commitment. People ask themselves questions like, do I trust this leader? Or do they care about me? Have they earned credibility? Do they live what they preach? Will following them help me or hurt me? Only after those questions are answered do people fully embrace the vision. And honestly, every manager has experienced this. You've probably seen a mediocre idea succeed because people trusted the leader. And you've probably seen a brilliant initiative fail because people didn't trust the person presenting it. That's the law of buy-in. One of the central stories Maxwell uses is the leadership journey of Mahatma Gandhi. At the time, India was under British rule, and many people wanted change. But wanting change and mobilizing millions of people are two very different things. What made Gandhi remarkable wasn't simply his vision of independence. It was the trust and credibility he built with the people. He lived sacrificially. He aligned his actions with his message. He connected emotionally with ordinary citizens, and people believed in him. And because they believed in him, they embraced the movement. So Maxwell points out that people often accepted incredibly difficult sacrifices because they trusted his leadership. That's buy-in. And the same principle applies inside organizations every day. Employees don't just evaluate the plan, they evaluate the manager presenting the plan. So, why does this matter so much? This law is incredibly practical because managers are constantly asking teams to do difficult things, to adopt to change, to embrace new systems, work through uncertainty, increase accountability, improve performance, stretch beyond comfort zones, right? So, when teams resist, managers often assume they don't understand the vision. But many times the issue isn't clarity on vision, it's credibility. People may understand exactly what you want, but still not trust the leadership behind it. That's why leadership influence matters more than leadership authority. Position can make people comply temporarily, but buy-in creates commitment. And commitment is what drives discretionary effort, engagement, innovation, resilience. So here's key takeaway number one. Trust is the foundation of leadership. Maxwell makes this very clear. People buy into the leader before they buy into the vision. So the first responsibility of leadership is building trust, not charisma, not perfection, but trust. And trust is built through consistency. Managers build buy-in when words match actions, when feedback is transparent and honest. Commitments are kept, when employees feel respected, when leaders admit their own mistakes, and when decisions are transparent. One of the fastest ways to lose buy-in is misalignment between the message and your behavior. So if a manager talks about teamwork but plays favorites, buy-in disappears. Or if a leader talks about work-life balance but glorifies burnout, or goes through the motions of burnout themselves, buy-in disappears. People are constantly asking, is this leader authentic? Because employees can spot performative leadership almost immediately. So here's the actionable tip number one from the chapter. Audit your leadership credibility. Ask yourself, do my actions consistently reinforce my message? Does my team trust my intentions? Have I earned influence or am I relying on authority? Would my team follow me if I didn't have the title that I have? Those are uncomfortable questions sometimes, but they're transformational questions and the questions that we need to be asking ourselves. Here's a practical exercise from the article or from the chapter. Ask 3 trusted team members this. What helps you trust leadership here, and what weakens trust? You may learn more in that conversation than from the entire engagement survey that your company engages in. Key takeaway number 2, connection precedes commitment. Maxwell emphasizes that leaders must connect with people emotionally before they can lead them effectively. People support leaders who make them feel seen. This is where many technically strong managers really struggle. They focus heavily on execution but neglect connection. But leadership is relational before it's operational. And think about great leaders that you've worked for. Usually the most influential ones weren't just smart, they listened well. They remembered little personal details. They cared about your growth, and they asked you about it. And they stayed calm under pressure and made people feel valued all along. That emotional connection creates buy-in. So, actionable tip number 2 is to increase your relational equity. So this week, intentionally spend time connecting with your people outside of task management. What's been energizing you lately? What's been frustrating for you? What support would help you most right now? Not a leadership technique, it's genuine curiosity, because buy-in grows when employees believe my manager understands me and wants me to succeed. Okay, key takeaway number 3, buy-in is earned before the crisis. One of the hidden lessons in this chapter is that trust must exist before difficult moments arrive. Because during uncertainty, teams don't suddenly develop confidence in their leaders. They reveal the confidence that already existed. So when layoffs happen, when priorities shift, when pressure rises, people follow leaders that they trust. That's why everyday leadership moments matter so much. The small moments build leadership capital, following through, showing respect, giving credit where credit is due, staying composed under pressure, telling the truth no matter what, and making very fair decisions that do not prioritize one employee over another. Those deposits accumulate over time, and eventually teams say, I trust where this leader is taking us. And so the tip there is to narrate the why. Managers often communicate decisions without context, but buy-in increases dramatically when people understand why the change matters, why the timing of it matters, why the work actually matters. People don't need every detail, but they do need meaning. So instead of saying we're restructuring this process, try we're restructuring this because our current process is slowing response times and frustrating customers. This change helps us serve people better and reduces stress on the team. And that meaning creates ownership. So here's a final challenge from the law of buy-in. Before asking, does my team believe in the vision? Ask, how have I become, the kind of leader that people really want to follow? Because leadership isn't about convincing people. It's about becoming trustworthy enough that people willingly join you. And when that happens, teams move from compliance to commitment, from resistance to ownership, and from skepticism to belief. And that's the real power of buy-in. Well, thanks for joining today on this episode from the Law of Buy-In. And remember, people buy into the leader, then the vision. So lead with credibility, lead with consistency, and lead with personal connection. And the influence you build today will determine how far your team is willing to go tomorrow. Well, that's it for now. Thanks for listening. And until next time we meet in the Manager Lab, do good work.